Hi guys, Mick here from Revolution Training. Welcome back to another Mindful Monday session. Last week we spoke about being mindful in a theory sense, so we talked about how to be mindful and what it does in the gym. This week I'm showing you how to be mindful in the practical sense, so showing you what being mindless is and then what being mindful is, and comparing the two and having a quick discussion on both cons and pros of both. So the first thing you noticed there was the person doing the mindless training. Sorry you had to see that, but that is a classic example of the average Joe doing a typical bicep curl that comes in the gym and doesn't know what they're doing. I'm saying that's wrong, but let's point out some key points of what they did wrong. So out of three, got the first one, which would be their form. So to speak, you saw that their back was being thrown forward and the hips being thrown forward with it. That in itself causes you to assist yourself with the lifting of the biceps. So you're not lifting as much with the isolated muscle. So you're using a lot of using a lot of momentum from the hip and back force to lift the weight up. As you see, that's very bad. It's what we call throwing the weight. Next, you want to notice with his form that his shoulders are forward. He's really forcing himself to push out and bring up with his shoulders. That puts a lot of stress on them, and that's something you really want to avoid when you're working out. Now, you might have noticed why his form was so out of whack. It's because the weight was too much for what he could accomplish. So if the weight's too much, you can't lift it in a clean, isolated lift. So you put more weight on, you start using other muscles of your body to throw the weight up, and you think to yourself, yeah, I can lift that. That's okay, that's good. No, that's not good. That's wrong. Sorry. Not sorry, but that's wrong. So when your weight's too much, you throw your form's out of whack, you can't get the optimal gains you're really aiming for. So lower the weight into what you're able to do for what your goals recommend and go from there. Alright, so the last thing I want to touch on is reps. Now you notice that he only did 4 reps of the throwing weights. Now this can be good if you know what you're doing and your range of motion and your form is good, but because they weren't good, those 4 reps were dirty, they weren't clean, they weren't complete. What he got out of that was probably about 40% of his bicep and 60% of the rest of his body overcompensating to help him lift that. So you really want to focus on the amount of reps and sets that you need for your optimal gains. And now, alright, as you just saw guys, that was the mindful version of the training where I came in, I did the weights myself, not the over the bozo doing it. Alright, so you notice that the 3 points I'm going to cover again, first one being form. So the form was rigid, upright, there was no swing at the back and the hips, and his arms stayed at his side, and a full range of motion went up and down with his arms. Secondly, I'm going to touch on the weight. As you saw, I picked up the weight. It was heavy, and I could have done probably 3 or 4 of them, but that would have been the entire set. So that's not my goal. I've dropped the weight, picked up again. It was a good weight for me. Went to 10 reps, put the weight down. Easy set, comfortable set, but still got gains and still worked on it. That's what you should be going for no matter what your goal is. So i.e., like you saw before, if you want a really nice strength and power training kind of regimen, it's okay to do, let's say, like 5 sets and for 2 to 4 reps, but only if you have a decent form and only if range of motion is good, unlike the other part. Alright, lastly to touch on is the reps. So this one, as you saw, I picked up the weight, did 8 reps of clean form. That's my personal goal. It's not to say that you can't do any more or less. It depends on your goal, and it depends if your range of motion and your form is great to go with that. So cover up all. The form was good, the weight was appropriate for my level, and the reps were appropriate to my goals and coincided with the form and the weight. And that's what mindful training should look like when you enter the gym. As you just saw with the 2 examples of the mindless and mindful training, the key thing I want to touch on here is form over weight. No matter what the circumstance, your form has to be good, otherwise your gains and what you want out of it will not be good. So in saying that, it is okay to do a heavy weight with low reps if that is your goal. So touching on goals, this has to be mindset of whatever you do in the gym. So if you want to do like endurance kind of training, that's fine as long as your form's great and you adjust to that, nothing's wrong. But if you want to do a heavy ass weight and you want to do the low reps and lots of sets, that's fine as long as your form's good. So key points I want to touch on there is form over weight, and there is absolutely no excuse for it. Really touch on that at all times. Your weight is appropriate to your goals and should be kept in check by your form, and the amount of reps you do again ties in with your goals and what you want out of it. Alright, and touching on the goals, this is what we're going to be talking about next week for the intermediate Mindful Mondays, but not going to spoil anything. Tune in next week, we'll just check out that and how it goes. Thanks guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Love you. Bye.